everyone, welcome back to the channel and to a review of what's new in the new Battle of France D-Day combination book. So this book is combining all four existing D-Day books as well as the 21st Panzer Division supplement that was added on later. So for newer players looking to the hobby, I will be briefly going over each nation, but I think this is a good book for you to start with if you're looking to collect one of the D-Day forces, because all four are in this book with all the guides and stuff that you need, and there's some quite good limited edition army boxes out there at the moment. So yeah, for existing players there's a few little things added, and you may not have all the D-Day books, you may only have one or two, so by getting this one you get the rest. And maybe players who've just been sticking to mid-war, this is a good way to get into late war. I just wish this book was around when I started collecting the D-Day books. So we will be looking at what's new, as I mentioned, and I will be going over just briefly the good things about different formations in each book. So if you are looking to purchase the book, the cards, or the new starting army boxes, if you look at the link in the description, it'll take you straight through to Firestorm Games, where you'll be able to pre-order them at this moment in time, or maybe order them later on. Definitely good value, the sets, and I think they're a good full army to build on. I'm definitely getting the 21st Panzer Division one myself, having missed out on when they first came out, but looking forward to getting them. Probably be a bit of a headache to use, but it'll be quite fun. So link in the description. Firestorm Games, they have excellent customer service and they are fast and reliable, and you should get your pre-order items hopefully quite quickly, and by using my link you'll help support me and the channel. Okay, first up we have the D-Day German book. So this is the first half of the forces they can take. So the Germans are good because they have a stormtrooper move, so they can do two movement actions as long as the first one passes. For new players, movement actions just give you a little extra movement here and there, just to poke out, shoot, and then hide back behind cover. They're quite handy if you can get them to work. So here, formation wise, we have beach defenders. So these guys are not the best. They tend to be aggressive, green, confident, but they don't like hanging around. In contrast to them, you've got the Fallschirmjäger, which are the elite, the best units you can get in this book, although expensive. And then also you've got the Fallschirmjäger Stugs, so assault guns with good stats on them. And then new, we've got the 21st Panzer Division, so this was a supplement going back to when these first came out. But you got the Hotchkiss assault gun company, so basically these are lightly armoured assault guns, but they do pack a punch, so if they get hit they'll die, but usually what they hit will also have a chance of dying. And next to them they have 21st Panzer Grenadier Company, so quite a mechanised Panzer Grenadier force. In support, what we've got new is in the anti-tank element we have Marders, and in the scouts we have the 21st Panzer Scout Troop and the Lux Scout Troop. So some new things added to the original D-Day book. Okay, and then this is the other half of the force diagram. So here we have our panzer formation. So the Tigers and the Panthers are the big heavy boys. They do pack a punch and they can take a bit of a hit, but they do cost a bit. Panzer IVs are basically the German Shermans, but they do have some good stats, making them a bit expensive. And then we have three different Panzer Grenadier companies. We have an armoured one, so you'll have plenty of half tracks, mobility with these ones. The foot sloggers in the just regular Panzer Grenadier company, and then we have the reconnaissance company. So they have the smaller 250 half tracks, and they tend to have the scout rule, so they get to move around and remain harder to hit. And also new, we have Jagdpanther tank hunter company, so packing even more of a punch than the Tigers and the Panthers to deal with Allied or Soviet heavy armor, but more with the D-Day books Allied armor. So For support, we have the 10.5 schleppers and 15 centimeter schleppers in the artillery section, and also we have a unique 21st Panzer Division OP, which we'll have a look at later. Okay, so the first of the new formation is the 21st Panzer Hotchkiss Assault Gun Company. So it won't take much to basically field all of this. Should easily fit this into 100 points. But you've got the HQ, which has to be a 7.5 centimeter Hotchkiss. Then two compulsories, so one's going to be a 7.5 and one's going to be a 10.5. With the third option, you get to choose. You can also add your multiple mortar section and some AA. Okay, so these are the Hotchkisses. So as you can see from the stats, for new players, this is generally what stats look like. For most of the German stuff, careful, confident veteran with a good last stand. And because these are assault guns, they don't counterattack or assault particularly well, because that is not their job. So the 7.5 is a 7.5 gun, so it's 80-12. These guys do have the benefit of front armor 2, so it'll be helping them against small arms because it'll bounce straight off. Being veteran, it will help with the stormtrooper moves, and just generally being mobile. A 4+ cross might let them down, but they do have some MGs as well. So overall, you kind of just get in Martyrs, but you can't have more than 3 in a unit. And you can have 2 or 3, as you can see here, but generally you'd probably be running 3. And then the 10.5 is basically the artillery version, so it can fire a template, quite decent as well, being a 3+ firepower and anti-tank 3, so it can deal with top armor 0 and top armor 1 enemies. It doesn't fire a smoke barrage though, so that does let it down a bit. It can fire direct. It's AT 10, 2+ firepower, which is nice. It is brutal, forward firing and heat, but it is slow firing, but it can fire smoke rounds, heat, making front armor of your opponent not increasing past 16 inches. And here we have the 21st Panzer Division Company. So we have a HQ, and then we have 2 black box sections of 2 Panzer Grenadier platoons, with the second one being able to have a recce platoon instead. You can then take a third platoon, a machine gun section, your multiple mortar section, schleppers in formation, a tank hunter platoon, and your choice of AA. Okay, so the biggest change to 21st Panzer Division is their half tracks now have a transport capacity of 2 rather than 1. So basically you can still have 7 half tracks in your unit, but it will cost you more. But the most important thing to note is by having 7 and 4 half tracks, it is a point cheaper than the regular armoured Panzer Grenadiers, but the HQ still requires you to have 2. So if you were running a HQ, 1 armoured and 1 regular, because you can have them dismounted with no half tracks at all, it will cost you the same as you would for a regular armoured Panzer Grenadier platoon if you were to do the same with them. But if you were to mount up the second platoon, you will save a point. So that point can go on something, can be going on a lucky card or something like that. Stat-wise for the Panzer Grenadiers themselves, it's the same as your armoured Panzer Grenadiers, with MG 42 teams and confident, veteran, careful. The half tracks though are a bit worse than the 251 half tracks, being a little bit slower. They have the same rate of fire, and they can have a 3.7 centimeter gun. And again, if they're mounted up, their mounted assault stats change. So being 4+ confident counterattack and hitting on 4s in assault. But that is really all the difference between them. I am going to get them because it is a bit funky, and it is nice to be playing something different. So as I said, you can have a machine gun platoon with them as well. These do, again, need a half track each, so that will bump their points up. Or you can have them without half tracks, especially if you're probably going to defend. You probably want just your MGs in a fixed position, but Attack, you can use your machine guns and you can definitely move them around with your half tracks, but it will cost you a little bit more than your regular armoured Panzer Grenadiers. What is good with the 21st Panzer Division is they have their tank hunter platoon integrated with them. So this is fairly similar to a Marder. 4 of them will cost you 15 points, so 1 less than a Marder, which is quite good. Being a careful, confident veteran, being handy, 3+ last stand, and again, yeah, the counter-attack and assault not being good because they are self-propelled guns. Bit slow on the movement, but I can definitely see these being more of an ambush unit. And again, they're again same as a Marder, 80-12, 3+ firepower, so pretty decent, and they have machine guns to help them against infantry as well. But very happy that these are in formation, and be looking to get these directly from Flames of War. Okay, so these are still part of the formation, so the multiple mortar section will be taken as part of the Hotchkiss or the Panzer Grenadier Company. It is your only access to smoke bombardments in formation. It does come at a cost of 12 points for 4. Running 2 is 6 points, but I don't like running artillery in 2 because you have to re-roll your hits. But it does fire a salvo template, so that is good and bad. So being a salvo template will cover a lot more ground, but danger close is 6 inches rather than 4, so you may be running into it a little bit more, and it is only a 40-inch range as well, so a bit short, but it is a smoke bombardment and it is another template weapon. And again, as you'd expect, careful, confident veteran. You can also have 15cm range Schlepper guns as well, but you can only have 2 of them for 8 points. These don't fire smoke barrages, but they are a pretty heavy hitting template. Being anti-tank 3, 2+ firepower. Auto is pretty good on the direct fire, but if anything's getting this close to them, it's not good news. But probably wouldn't be taking them in formation, because we'll see why later. Okay, so new to the book, we have the Jagdpanther Tank Hunter Company. So as you can see, you have a HQ and 2 black box sections which have to be Jagdpanthers, and then you can have a 3rd additional platoon with your AA. So the Jagdpanthers will set you back a bit, basically being 12 points per Jagdpanther, but they are careful, confident, veteran, counter-attack and assault ain't great, but they have a 3+ last stand. They are only front 9 and top armor 1, which will let them down a bit, but it's their gun you'll probably be taking them for. So their gun, having a 48-inch range and anti-tank of 17, will really overpower even the heaviest of allied armor, heaviest being anti-tank 11 from the Churchills. They still get a chance to bounce it, but you do have a good chance of killing it. So a unit of 4 will set you back 49 points, but remember, because they're a black box unit, you can have them as just a supporting unit. Otherwise you'll probably just be running a HQ of 2 or maybe 2 units of 2 and then backing them up with some supporting units. Okay, so now added in we have the Marder Tank Hunter Platoon, so this is a support unit. So 4 of them will set you back 16 points, but a unit of 3 is pretty nifty, being 12 points. Similar in cost to the Pack 40s. The gun is the same, but obviously these guys are a bit more mobile, which is what I tend to prefer. If it definitely an attack, but maybe an ambush, is to pop from ambush, fire, and then maybe move somewhere else a bit better. With your fixed guns, it's a bit trickier to do that. But careful, confident veteran, as you would expect. And it's the same Marders that we see in the other books, but now they are in this book that you can use as a support. Okay, so now we have our new scout unit. So we have the looks, so 3 of them are 5 points. I've never really fancied these myself. They do have a good armor for a scout unit, being front armor 3, and because they're tracked, they are a bit faster with a good cross check. But their gun is only a 2cm, so anti-tank 5 isn't really going to get you through much other than other scouts and transports, and being a 5+ firepower won't do much damage, but they can be quite handy at digging out infantry from foxholes, but in general I probably won't use them. Now, the scout troop is going to be in the 21st Panzer starter box, so most likely I will be using these. It's a quite good mix of 3 different scout cars of the 222, 221 and the 231. Ideally, the 2.8 centimeter is probably the best looking one for me because being anti-tank 7, it is slow firing and doesn't have HE, but it can take out lighter tanks, and if it goes around the side of most of them, can cause a bit of damage. And then the 231 just having the beefier armor, similar to the Lux, but it's going to be a bit slower because it's just got wheels. Okay, and then our new 21st Panzer artillery section. So this is probably why I won't be using the Schleppers in formation, because 3 Schlepper 10.5 centimeters, 8 points, so 1 less than Vesps. They pretty much are Vesps, having more or less the same stats, but they don't have machine guns, now that's why they're cheaper. But they can fire a smoke bombardment, and that's quite a big selling point for me, is to having at least 1 or 2 smoke bombardments in my lists. If you don't worry about smoke bombardments, then the 15 centimeter is just hits a bit harder. So the anti-tank is the same, but the firepower is better. And then directly, the anti-tank's the same, but it's auto firepower. But basically, it's kind of the same thing with the Vesps and the Hummels, but these guys will save you a point. Now that point can be used for a lucky card or maybe a 21st Panzer Lorraine Schlepper observation post. So comes with the new starter set. So again, probably be using this. It's just your kind of bog standard OP. So with the OPs, you can either have a Panzer 3, a 251, or a 250 half track. And this obviously is just more thematic to the 21st Panzer Division, which I think is quite nice. Okay, so that is it for the D-Day Germans. So now we have the D-Day Waffen SS. So there is nothing new with these guys, but to go over them, they are aggressive. They are trained. The HQ tends to be veteran, and anyone who are near them are also veteran. But they are fearless, which is their biggest selling point. The Tiger SS Tank Company are careful, and their motivation is even better. But there's plenty of upgrades to change these guys around. But because they are aggressive, they tend to be that little bit cheaper, which is why they can be preferable. Especially if you upgrade the formation unit, you can keep the supporting units still cheap and aggressive, which I find quite handy. Okay, and this is the other half of the SS, so the Panzer Grenadiers. So again, similar to the other Germans, armoured, regular and recce, and then you've got your supporting elements. So again, everything is just tends to be a little bit cheaper because they're aggressive. I tend to upgrade them to the 9th SS Panzer Division, so that makes them careful, veteran, fearless, which is a pretty good combination of stats, but obviously you do have to pay that little bit extra to get them to that. Okay, so now we're on to the Allies with the D-Day Americans. So the Americans basically tend to have quite access to quite a lot of cheap artillery in formation and support, which obviously adds to their strengths. And you have a good choice of basically being aggressive, careful, trained, have some veteran units. They're very good for their mobility because they have plenty of armoured units that are quite cost effective. But the anti-tank capability isn't, unless you use support from other nations or the Belgian-American book, isn't going to be greater than anti-tank 12. But if you're facing against other D-Day units, it is doable and would be fun. So in this first section of their force, we have all the infantry foot sloggers. So we have the parachute infantry, which are basically the best they've got. Careful, fearless veteran. Glider rifles are quite good, but they are aggressive. The Rangers are also aggressive, but they hit really hard in assault. And then you have your first wave infantry in the assault companies, so you can have either your regular assault or your veterans. The regular ones are aggressive and the other ones are careful, so being difference between hit on 3s and 4s. And then you have your rifle companies below them, which are exactly the same. And as you can see, your supporting units, you've got plenty of armoured scout units, your priests or your 105 millimeters, your towed guns, and of course your aircraft. And then the biggest artillery they got is the M12, which is a really does hit hard. And the Americans, with their supporting artillery, if they range in first time, is classed as a repeat bombardment, which is pretty good. Okay, and then the second half of their formations is all their armoured units. So you have your fresh armoured units, which, like the infantry, are aggressive, and you have Shermans or Stuarts or armoured rifles. Armoured rifles good because you've got your infantry up in half tracks, so you can get to move them around a bit quicker and protect them from small arms. And then the veterans are the same, but being careful, so cost a little bit more. You then have your tank destroyer formations, so you have your M10s, and new to this book you have your M18s, which is similar to an M10, a bit lighter, a bit faster, and hits the same, which we'll have a look at. Okay, so the new formation is the M18 Tank Destroyer Company. So it's a similar force diagram to the Tank Destroyer Company, having a HQ of the M18 scout cars with 3 units of M18s, and then you've got your 3 security sections. So you need to have 2 black box units of M18 tank destroyer and your HQ to field the formation. Okay, so the HQ are M20 scout cars. You've got 2 of them. They do have 50 cals, so are quite decent, but you need to kind of look after them, and really they're just going to be close to at least 1 platoon of your M18s just to give them their re-rolls for their motivation. Now the 4 M18s will only set you back 15 points, which is quite nice. It is only 1 point cheaper than the M10s, but again, you're saving a point you can spend somewhere else. They are faster, but they are a lot lighter armoured, only front armour 2, so a lot of, like, even the German scouts will be going through them, unless you roll your save. So look after them, be quite a good ambush unit. I still probably would favour the American Bulge book over the American D-Day book, just for the M18s have access to 80-13. Now it's only 1 point more, but I do think it can make a difference in the right situations. Okay, and then here's the M20 security section. So it's just another scout unit with 2 M20 scout cars and a jeep. So all of these pack in 50 cal, so quite handy at dealing with enemy dug-in infantry. But they do have spearhead, and they're also an observer unit, so they can spot for artillery. But they are only trained, so they're not the best spotters. But it is a good way to get some spearhead, and 50 cals are quite handy. Okay, so with no additional support from the American in this new book, we're moving on to the final book, the D-Day British, which tends to be my favourite. So here we have the D-Day -1 formations and the D-Day formations, and of course the support elements, well, first half of the support elements below. So the British, they're all careful, and then you have a mixture of trained troops, but they all tend to hit on 3s in assault. The regular infantry are reluctant at this stage in the war, but they do still have a good counterattack. Paratroopers are fearless, and so are commandos, but there's plenty of command cards to change around the stats on your regular infantry. Mainly I tend to run them as Canadians, which are fearless. So you've got your parachute and your air landing companies here. So now these are careful, trained, fearless, with 3+ hits on assault. Commandos are even better, and then you have your rifle company, which is reluctant. Desert Rats are reluctant, and they have a worse counterattack. And then the Sherman DDs are Shermans, but only in units of 3, and then the Fireflies are all grouped into 1 unit, which are quite good. And then supporting, we've got the Crocodiles, which are Churchills who churn out flamethrowers. and M10s, which like the Firefly have AT-14, so can really chew through Axis armor. And then you have your more funnies and AVREs, which are very short-ranged bombardment. 17-pounders, basically your dismounted version of the M10. Daimlers, which quite a good scout car because they're 87. AA, and then the Typhoons, which are quite good at dealing with light armor, and if you're lucky, heavy tanks. Okay, and now we have the breakout formation. So the Churchills are very heavily armored, and you can upgrade at least one in each unit to front armor 11, so that's as heavy as the Allies can get with the D-Day books. The Cromwell armoured recce do have new additions, which we will cover, but these are Cromwells that have the scout rule, so basically you move around and you can keep your gun to ground as long as you don't shoot. It does cost them a bit. Your Sherman armoured squadrons are just your Shermans, but they do have Fireflies in each troop, which is very handy for dealing with enemy heavy armour. And then your Desert Rats are similar to the Shermans, but you have Fireflies mixed in with Cromwells, but the Desert Rats do not like fighting in the bocage, so they are reluctant. They do still have a decent remount, but they are reluctant, so not very happy. And same with their company in motor infantry, like the Desert Rat rifle companies, they are less motivated to keep on fighting. And the motor company is similar to the regular rifle companies, where they are reluctant with a 4+ counterattack and 3+ hit and assault, but these are very small infantry units, so they have to be used carefully. New to the support sections, we have sextons are now added to the artillery diagram. Can have 4 units of them, I never will, but these, I'm very happy with these because they were a command card originally, and they used to cost a little bit more in this book compared to the Bulge book, which kind of always twisted my arm to have Bulge British, but this one now does open some opportunities for me to go back to this book. So not a new formation, but it has been tweaked. You won't see it here in the formation diagram, but the Cromwell Armoured Recce Squadron has a welcome addition, in my opinion. So you have to take a HQ and two black box units, but one of them can be Stuarts, and then you can have plenty more Cromwells, more Stuarts, and your Crusader AAs. Okay, so as you can see here, if you're familiar with the British D-Day book, the Challenger has been added to the Cromwell troops. Now you can still just field them as 3 Cromwells for 17 points, which is quite steep, but it's because they have the scout rule, which obviously they can stay gone to ground if they don't shoot. But this does still apply to the Challenger, which is why it is 23 points for 3 Cromwells and 1 Challenger. Quite expensive, but it is quite handy for the British D-Day book because it was a problem of getting the fewest number of units to be in reserve. So with this, 23 points plus a unit of Cromwells is bang on 40, which is quite handy, which, quite always helpful, I think. Challenger is good because you can keep up with the Cromwells. This cross-check isn't great, but you don't want it for its cross-check, you want it for its gun. Now it's AT-14. Now normally the Cromwell Armoured Recce troops, I always fancied them, but the fact is I'd have to take M10s along with them, which didn't quite feel right because they didn't have scout and they would be really struggling to keep up with them. But now with the Challengers, it does give the Cromwell Armoured Recce troop a good punch, but you're not really going to be having more than 3 units of these in your list at 100 points, but the AT-14, if used properly, can be devastating against even the heaviest D-Day German armour. Okay, so another formation that's had some tweaking is the Desert Rats Cromwell Armoured Squadron. So nothing has changed at this point, but we will have a look at what has changed. So again, like the Recce Cromwells, you have a HQ and then 2 black box units, one of which can be Stuarts, and then 2 more Cromwells, more Stuarts, and AA. Okay, so as you can see, the Challenger also has been added to the Desert Rats. So you can either have Fireflies with your Cromwells or Challengers with your Cromwells. Now, of course, the Challenger is a point more. Stats again are the same as the Sherman, being reluctant and a 3+ remount, which is what the Desert Rat armor will bring you at this point in this book, but what it does allow you to do is keep up with your Cromwells, because normally the Fireflies will slowly lag behind the Cromwell, especially if you're dashing them, and then slowly be left behind and maybe picked off, or just end up running away because the Cromwells all get shot up and die. But that's what you get to do. And again, 2 of these only need to earn is 2 more points to put in reserve, which can be some Universal Carriers, Daimlers, or the Desert Rat Crusader AAs, which again is only 2 points and will strengthen your formation. Okay, and then probably one of my favourite additions to the British book is the Sexton Field Troop. So originally this was 14 points in the D-Day book and was a command card, but now it's down to 12, which is in keeping with the Bulge book. It's basically a mounted 25-pounder. The only thing I let it down is it's only a 4+ firepower, but they are veteran and they are fearless. They don't have machine guns, so be careful, but 12 points now does make the D-Day book a lot more viable. I was always struggling D-Day book or Bulge book. Bulge book, of course, you got the cheap Sextons, but the M10s are more expensive because their anti-tank is higher. So very happy with the Sextons. Okay, so that is it for the book. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, it's probably more tailored to people who already have at least one of these books, or looking to maybe purchase this one and save a bit of shelf space. Really, I don't know how big this book is. It's probably going to be an absolute slab, so you can kill someone with it. If the game doesn't go well for you, I suppose. If I didn't already have all 4 books, I would definitely consider getting them. I will be getting the unit cards just because it's more convenient. The main thing for me is those nice little D-Day anniversary army deals that they've brought out. Definitely getting the 21st Panzer Division one. Don't need the other 3 because I've already got substantial collections of all those armies. The Panzer Layer one is very good. It's Armoured Panzer Grenadiers, so really get your hobby started with them. Americans is Armoured Panzer Grenadiers with Shermans, and the British is Desert Rats. But what is good with all those starter sets is it comes with dice and objectives and tokens, and they also have fancy molded objective markers, so like knocked out tanks and stuff, which I really like and wish they sold separate, because I would definitely be buying them. But you can get them all at Firestorm Games, as I mentioned before. There's a link in the description. I'll take you through to their website, and then just scroll down until you find Flames of War. But in short, this book I think is excellent for someone who's maybe D-Day curious, from maybe mid-war, or maybe you've got the later ones, or maybe you've been looking at a bit of Team Yankee and not sure what book you want to get. But anyone who is new to the hobby, once you got your rule book, you can get this book, and then you can have a look at all 4 armies in this book to really narrow down your choice to what you have, because you'll have all the stats at your fingertips, and there's plenty of hobby and advice on painting, modelling, the models themselves, and there's a few nice D-Day themed missions in this book as well. So I hope you enjoyed the review. Hopefully I haven't missed anything glaringly obvious. I'm sure someone will point out in the comments. Thank you, Kevin, for sending me the PDF, and hopefully I can make more preview videos for Battlefront in future. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and check out Firestorm Games.